Welcome to the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine, where, every week, we invite spiritual Black folk to reconnect with our ancestors as we journey through the crossroads. Please consider donating through patreon.com/Sankofa Shrine. Ancestors, you who are of us and around us, guide us through this day. Teach us the way. Through darkness and confusion, grant us courage, balance, peace, and love. For this day and all the days, may your guidance and wisdom continue to be a path opener for us and ours, and remain with us at every crossroads. Ashe. Today's sacred movement is just some intuitive movement. I chose to smoke cleanse for this particular intuitive movement session. So choose to do whatever you'd like. We're going to do 200 fire breaths just so that we can bring that oxygen up into our brain, be ready to connect with our spiritual side, with the spirit realm, and of course get our lungs strong and continue to strengthen them, especially in times like this, just doing what we can to stay healthy and be as strong as possible. Remember, we're going to do 3 cleansing breaths first. When you breathe in, your tummy should go out. When you breathe out, your tummy should go in.
yeah. Fuck around and get lit. Little bitch, you a snake, yeah. DDB, don't forget. We don't do any talking. I want the quality for my mom, yeah. Molly, Molly on my tongue, yeah. Molly, Molly on my pocket. No selection, no option. No fussing, no problems. Yeah, fuck around and get caught, yeah. Out of business, you get bored, yeah. Soldier soul for a check, yeah. You got fucked up in finesse, yeah, 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 yeah. Rush me when I throw you to the side, yeah. You nothing special. Get your money right, working 24/7. Watch you whipping up the white. Ooh, dirty, oh whoa. Catch your breath, and then breathe. Know your place, hit 'em with the sleep. Falling off, ain't no option, best believe. When the wall, bitch, come step to me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine. I'm your host, Sacred Woman Practitioner Tatami, and today I thought we would continue our discussions about self-awareness, looking in on ourselves, and a few other topics, but that's mostly what's today, what we're talking about, a general thought. I'll figure out a name for that later. Today we're going to be continuing reading out of To Love and Mourn in the Age of Displacement. This book is written by an Afro-Indigenous gentleman by the name of Alan Lopez. If you remember, got this particular book back in January. When my book was published, he was also one of the other authors who was published by this company at this time. So his words just really spoke to me, and today I just was thinking about his work and thought I would look into the book. And I remembered his poem. It's called An Encounter with My Heart. So we're going to read that. And I also have a little bibliomancy from The Art of War. Before I read, though, I did want to show, I finished some prayer cards. I don't know if you remember from last time, but I talked about travel altars, creating one, creating a face jug to go in it. And I also mentioned making prayer cards. So this is what I mean. Here I took just business cards. I know you can buy prayer cards, but like I said, it's like you buy them in such bulk that I'm not sure why any single individual, like business cards already come in bulk, you know what I mean? So anyways, you can obviously do all this on the computer. I went ahead and handmade mine because I'm going to be sticking them into the travel altars. So, just write a small prayer on the back, and there you have it. And I have just a nature scene with the crossroads. I tried my best with my watercolors. So I wanted to give that quick update first. Now we're on to the poetry. An Encounter with My Heart. Elders have always told me to be specific, to identify and point to the place of ache. My right index finger always pointed to my head, eyes, and upper back. Corazon, I didn't realize that when you ached, our pain migrated to different cells of our body. I wear a ring on my index finger, bought from another Indian in Oakland, thinking it would help with precision. How naive to believe that I understood you without ever conversing with you, Corazon. This medicine, disguised as a ring, has fallen off so many times that I finally found my ignorance. Corazon, thank you for being so gentle. Your tenderness in the form of a headache, eye ache, and backache will no longer go unnoticed. This ring does not feel loose. I know that it fits quite well. Querido corazón, I'm ready to feel you. No need to travel to my digits and make this medicine mistaken as object fall. Today I point to you, corazón, and proudly testify. It hurts here. It hurts here. It hurts here. All right, so this poem has so much gold in it, does it not? So one part that really stands out to me that I thoroughly enjoy is towards the end when he notes that he was not using the ring correctly, that he bought it as an object, he slapped it on, and he waited for something to happen. And he thought he was using it correctly, perhaps, but he was not, ultimately. And once he realized that he was not utilizing this tool appropriately, or even really putting full energy into trying to use the tool appropriately, that's when he was able to start making progress spiritually, physically within himself. Another thing I note about this poem is the use of the body as an altar that you have to continue to remain in tune with. And I do think that, starting with the heart, with the soul, with the womb, the root chakra, starting from the inside of this torso and really blossoming out and checking in with all of this is so vital. Often we do go straight for the root or straight for the head or the back or however it is that we associate, but the heart is so important. It's so overlooked, I think, because we consider love so simple, peace so simple, but it's not so simple. We all struggle with it. We all struggle to maintain it. We all struggle to, especially in times of strife, right? It's easy to maintain it when nothing ever happens in your life, right? But then when things happen, suddenly you're out of control. And so that shows that you were never really in control. You just didn't have anything stimulating you to be out of control, right? Or to be sick or to be feeling these symptoms. So the mitigating of it, to understanding your body alter, to know what to mitigate. I also found it really powerful, just the simple act of, yes, pointing to what hurts, facing what is wrong, admitting that you are not perfect, that you have these issues, but not having that. It's not about bringing you down. That's about, the first step to fixing the problem is admitting that you have one. It's not saying you're less than other people because you are struggling in this area of your life with this past, with this connection with something or somebody. It's to say that it is in fact time to, address something, adjust, do some shadow work, do some spiritual cleansing, what have you, and, look into what needs to be done. My other thoughts were that my favorite, I've even underlined that line, how naive to believe that I understood you without ever conversing with you. That's essentially a lot of what's in Queen Afua's Sacred Woman, right? Is the womb. One of the poems basically almost says this, almost verbatim, is slightly different, but she basically says this, I've never spoken with you, but I act like I know what's best. Which is why you take that time to learn your womb cycles and what those little different pains and pings mean, and you learn to listen to it instead of just ignoring it and writing through it. You learn to have tools to mitigate it while you're trying to fix what needs to happen in your life. And sometimes you can't fix what's happening in your life, right? Some people cannot get off birth control because they have something specific that's going on in their lives. They cannot risk pregnancy, or they cannot risk, paying for certain things. I'm not even sure. There's so many things like medical, physical, personal, family, what have you, that cause people to have to continue doing something, or they have to continue eating meat, processed foods, because quite frankly, they get their food from, the food bank still. They're not in the position to be saying that they are the healthiest of vegan eating, plant-based eating, should I say. Vegan is not really about the animals, is it? It's about the planet, yourself, the community. So, eating that plant-based food just really isn't an option. So then, therefore, you would have to learn to mitigate what your womb is speaking, right? Even when you're not being able to be perfect, it's a whole other conversation that you be having with your womb. It's with your heart. It's the same thing. Being able to understand what's happening within your body, and having that more personal connection with your body helps, so that you're able, one, to gain that discipline and feel that connection with your body altar, and also honor it and also take care of it, right? Not neglect parts of it just because that part seems too hard, or you've just been oblivious to it this entire time. So, what a wonderful book, okay? I recommend my book, Apricity, but I absolutely recommend this book if you would like just some Afro-Indigenous poetry to the culture, the ancestors. He's Afro-Indigenous as in the Americas. I'm not sure north or south. I'll have to like read it somewhere. I think north, but it's the indigenous cultures worldwide really have a lot of underlying common threads, commonalities of wisdom and truths that I think even people from African descent can absolutely connect with and understand the core, speakings of the indigenous ways of Native people from the Americas. Um, all right, so when I was flipping through The Art of War, I did happen to land on page 124 of my book. Who would ever have this book, y'all? I got this from like Target like 10 years ago. You know, those like, that I remember back when I went to Target all the time, they used to have like $1 to $5 junk in the front of the Target, but sometimes it's not junk. Sometimes there's $3 books is sitting in front of Target. And so that's what I remember this from, absolutely. At any rate, so nobody is probably likely to have this exact edition. But let's see, we're on chapter 5. I guess it would be stanza 18. Hiding order beneath the cloak of disorder is simply a question of subdivision. Concealing courage under a show of timidity presupposes a fund of latent energy. Masking strength with weakness is to be effected by tactical dispositions. Thus, one who is skillful at keeping the enemy on the move maintains deceitful appearances according to which the enemy will act. All right, so this I think is always such an interesting read because it reminds us that, in fact, you don't have to tell everybody the news, right? You don't have to tell everybody the plans. Sometimes you really can move in silence. I think there is the people can hold you up to accountability if they know your plans, which if you have people who you can absolutely trust, I think that's really good. But sometimes we get so eager and we tell people the plans, and then people are working actively against you. And especially in this spiritual climate, I don't even want to be, scary about it. But the truth is so many people are moving towards African traditional religions, and many are doing it because that's their bloodline and their birthright, and they really want to have something spiritual in their life that they can believe in and work on and build with the community. Others are really led by, the rhetoric, the stereotypes, which typically don't associate African traditional religions, voodoo, hoodoo, Santeria, etc., Ifa. They don't associate them with love, healing, kindness, family, community, camaraderie, etc. They find them to be more of a something to be used for revenge, violence, hate, that sort of thing. And so that's what they practice when they start up into pagan religions. Even other types of pagan religions, they'll do this with. They'll immediately start with like a lot of really wild stuff, because with other some pagan religions like Wiccans especially have a lot of language they use that like weaponizes blackness, and specifically through its coded language really calls out African traditional religions almost as barbaric, backwards, dark, evil, not something that should be participated in by the, modern good witch. You know what I'm saying? The civilized witch basically is the rhetoric. And so, when people decide, then fine, I'm going to like an African religion. Um, they that's what they use the more hateful stuff. So keeping that in mind, keeping in mind that people are often jealous, they want to be able to do what other people are doing, especially on social media. And remembering that you don't have to always tell the world everything. I know social media, it's hard because you're like, oh, like I have this platform and I can just tell everybody what's going on. Sometimes though, we don't need to tell everybody what's going on, especially if this plan really needs to involve like the ancestors or like the family, or needs to be kept under wraps for now. So that is the advice that I get from this one. But I also think it's like not just specifically about like not keeping your mouth shut. It's just about like knowing when to do what and how to present yourself in different situations. Knowing that it isn't always about you being like the center of attention, or you being the boldest, or you being the quietest. Sometimes it's the opposite, right? So you really need to be able to make sure that you are able to read situations. And my advice with that is that really reaching in with your ancestors to help lead you, to lend you that courage, to lend you that ability to really feel at ease in situations so that you can naturally move through them. That comes with, talking with the ancestors, talking with them even when things aren't wrong, right? We've talked about that before. But yes, finding the time and place for everything, right, is what they say. So I think that is a lot of what Sun Tzu is saying here, is to be skillful at how you present yourself and what words you use and say. Those sacred words are very powerful and important. All right, I'll be there in a second. Okay, may your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and I will see you next time.